After for anyone that wants to hang around. So a couple people have been asking me, and I guess I should talk a little bit more about the magazine, and I'm also happy to see everyone exchanging autographs, which is awesome. It's a quarterly, the Artis is a quarterly magazine. The next issue will be out on May 30th, and then after that it's every 3 months, so September 30th, and then the final issue for this first year will be January 30th, 2018. And I designed this initial copy with Brittany Billier, who she just finished up at Humber Journalism School, and she'd done a number of internships and was doing one at CBC at the time. So she actually designed this skeleton version of the design you're seeing is thanks to Brittany. She couldn't be here tonight, but she says hello. And I mean, had it not been for her, this probably would not have materialized. And that's, you know, amazing. And as a result, because she's a few years younger than me, but I knew she was a gifted young lady, and she's now full-time at the CBC. Yeah, so unfortunately she did but we knew, when we started the magazine, we knew she'd probably only be with me for one issue, so it wasn't a surprise. And so she won't be doing the design for the second issue, but we do have the skeleton, and that's thanks to her. And the fonts, everything you're looking at that's made it so visually beautiful. It's a different skill entirely from words, and so I thank her for that. And also Eric Koch, who couldn't be here tonight, and you will see one of his excerpts in the prose section. He also was at the CBC for about 30 years. He's 98 now, he still writes daily. Unfortunately couldn't make it. He might be profiled in one of our upcoming artist profiles. The artist profile is a section in the back of the magazine that talks about artists and what they do. This issue talked about with Lawrence Hutchman about his latest collection, the 2 Maps of Emery, and also with Joyce Wayne, where she talked about she was at Quill and Choir as the editorial director for a number of years in the 80s. And then she went and was at Sheridan College for 20 years as the director of their publishing program. And she also had a program running that she started and ended, I think it started in 2007 if I remember correctly, and ended in 2010, where they were bringing journalists over from third world countries who were basically exiled and were doing journalism here in Canada, and then the Harper government had put a stop to it. So in the interview that's in the magazine, she'll talk about how the golden 80s were an incredible time for publishing. She talks about Pierre Trudeau and all the things he implemented in regards to why the Canadian publishing industry is the way it is today. Nothing has changed in the last 30 years, and we are still competing with other English-speaking nations, which is thanks to him and the incentives he provided for publishers and the amazing things she's done. So please go online, subscribe, and submit your work. We definitely need visual artists, and I have a lot of poetry, prose, op-ed pieces. Send it to me. And we're going to start off. We've got about 5 people, and we'll wrap up probably, I think, in about half an hour. And we're going to start off with Bobby Kane, who is the president of the Robert Burns World Federation, as we all know, all the way from Scotland. And what they wear into those kilts, I don't know, but maybe he'll fill you in.
Thank you very much, Ivy. Thank you for inviting us along tonight. And yes, Ivy suggested that maybe we could put the kilt on tonight. And I was quite happy to do that because it allows me to get my underpants washed to wear for the rest of my trip. However, Ronnie mentioned this fabulous man, Robert Burns, and I had a great privilege to wear this piece of bling for a year to represent the Robert Burns World Federation, which exists to ensure that the legacy of the man who was voted by the Scottish people the greatest Scot who has ever lived, his memory continues to go forward throughout the world, and his legacy, we hope, continues to grow because his works speak for themselves. But the man himself is what people fall in love with. And one of the great things about Robert Burns was his ability to see things in everyday life that others didn't see. For example, the wonderful poem that Ronnie recited earlier, where he elevates a poor simple mouse into the equal of himself and of man of the day. He hated hypocrisy. He detested people looking down on others. And the first piece I'm going to do today is a particular favourite of mine. And it really is all about look in before you look out. You know, don't talk about someone else without recognising your own failures. And it's Robert Burns' address to the Unco Gid, or the rigid or the righteous. O ye we are to gid yourselves, sae bias and sae holy. You've not to tell but mark, you've not to do but mark and tell your neighbour's thoughts and folly. His life is like a wheel gone mill, supplied with store of water. The heaped happers ebbing still, and still the clap plays clatter. Hear me, ye venerable chorus, counsel for poor mortals, that frequent pass this wisdom's door, for glaikit folly's bottles, aye, for their thoughtless, careless sakes, would here propone defences, their doncy tricks, their black mistakes, their failings and mischances. You see your state with theirs compared and shudder at the never. But cast a moment's fair regard, but much the mighty differ. The scoot what scant occasion gave, that purity you pride in, and what's half mair than all the lave, your better art of hiding. Think, when his castigated pulse gies new and then a while, what ragings in his veins compulse that still eternal gallop. With wind and tide, for in your tail right on you scud your seaway, but in the teeth of both the sail, it marks an uncle leeway. And I just forgot what. No, fine.
Wait, there's more?
Joy and stick down, that's, yeah.
Let social joy and glee sit down, all glorious and thinking, till quite transmogrified they're grown, debauchery and drinking. Oh, would they stay to calculate the eternal consequences, or your more dreaded hell to state, damnation of expenses? Ye high exalted, virtuous dames, tied up in godly laces, before ye gie poor frailty name, suppose a change of cases. A dear love lad, convenient snug, a treacherous inclination, but let me whisper in your lug, your abling's nae temptation. Then gently scan your brother man, still gentler sister woman, though they may gan a ken and rang to step beside this human. One point must still be greatly dark, removing why they do it, and just as lamely can you mark, perhaps, how far they rue it. Who made the heart? 'Tis he alone decidedly contrives. He knows its chord, its various tone, each spring, its various bias. Then, back to balance, let's be mute. We never can adjust it. What's done, we partly may compute, but know not what's resisted. Thank you. Excuse my nerves, I normally do this in front of people coming along to hear us about Burns. Not that you're not here to hear about Burns, but to listen to the wonderful talent on show this evening. All part of this wonderful magazine, or this buzz bomb that I had the privilege to meet this week over here. It's quite fantastic. And
Send us to come back to Canada.
I will be absolutely delighted to come back to Canada at some point. Now, we mentioned how Scots took over the world. One of the things that they did, as the Scots left for various reasons, many political reasons of oppression, of hardship, people left Scotland with two books. They left with a Bible. They were a very religious country in those days where the church had actually ruled for a number of years. but they also left with the book of the poems of Robert Burns. And that helped take the works of this man all over the world, because you'll find Scots and Irish everywhere, usually close to a bar, I seem to find. However, I wasn't going to do this one, so just bear with me just to make sure I do get it right. And this is a perfect summation of this wonderful man, Robert Burns. He felt that every man should be treated equally, that nobody was better than any other, rich or poor, and that the common man was the man who was always right. Fabulous, fabulous. In 1795, he wrote these words. And this is called A Man's a Man for all that. Is there for honest poverty that hangs his head and all that? The coward slave be passing by, we dare be poor for all that. For all that and all that, her toils obscure and all that. The rank is but the guinea stamp, the man's the gout for all that. What though in hamely fare we dine, we're hodden green and all that. Gie fools their skills and knaves their wine, a man's a man for all that. For all that and all that, the tinsel show and all that. The honest man, though e'er so poor, is king o' men for all that. Ye see yon birkie called a lord, wha struts and stares and all that. Though hundreds worship at his word, he's but a cuff for all that. For all that and all that, his ribbon star and all that. The man o' independent mind, he looks and laughs at all that. A prince can mak a belted knight, a marquis, duke and all that. But an honest man's aboon his might, get faith he mauna for that. For all that and all that, their dignities and all that, the pith o' sense and pride o' worth are higher rank than all that. Then let us pray that come it may, has come it will for all that, that sense and worth o'er all the earth shall bear the gree and all that. For all that and all that, it's coming yet for all that. That man to man, the worlder, shall brothers be for all that. Thank you very much. If you need a translation, Ronnie and I will help later.
Very good, Rod.
Thank you, Bobby Kane. President of the Robert Burns World Federation, all the way from Scotland. And he only gets to wear the bling for 1 year. So if you see him next year,
No bling.
yeah, no bling, but kilt still, always. Our next performer will be Kim Cayer. She has written 3 books, if I remember correctly. And her first one was called Dirty Numbers, which was based, I don't know, I kind of feel like they're all semi-autobiographical. I'm not sure if they are. But that one was based on a person or woman who had to work at like a sex phone company. Very, very funny.
What's the number?
Yeah, it's a dirty number.
You already know, don't tell lies.
You'll have to ask him about that one. And the second book, Lights, Camera, Dissatisfaction, was all about a lady who's trying to make it in Hollywood or in the entertainment biz, and everything she struggles to do so because she's a big busty girl. And this third book, called No Fire Escape in Hell, is about a lady who escapes an abusive relationship and, again, goes to the entertainment industry. Now, there's one thing I can tell you about Kim is that she's spent 20 years as a professional entertainer, and now she's becoming a full-time writer. She's got a 4th book coming out very soon. So all of them have these semi-autobiographical feel. One really cool thing about her is that her mom's collection of newspaper articles and things sold out in Canada as at 5,000. Is it 5,000 copies?
8,000 copies.
8,000 copies, which is a complete Canadian bestseller, and it chronicled a period of time in Canadian history And I'll just let you gauge it for yourself. She's very funny and awesome. Give it up for Kim Cayer.
Hi guys. I'm going to do just a couple of little pieces. The first thing that I ever did was, which sort of got me noticed, was when I started reading from my Dirty Numbers book, which is a memoir of a job that I landed, had no idea where I was, what kind of job I was working at. I was not the dirty talker. I was the secretary who said, "Do you have a credit card? Stop making that rhythmic thumping noise in the background." It's like, so here's just a little few words from one of the pages. Grace, and her stage name, Tiffany, called me back. "Hi, I'm done with Lance." "Great," I said. "I'll be talking to you soon." "Lance was a new caller?" she asked. "Yeah." "Oh, then you better make a note on his file. He's a TV. "A TV as in TV set?" I asked. I had no idea what she's talking about or how a TV set can figure into phone sex. Grace trilled her little girl giggle. "Oh, that's funny as in TV set. TV is short for transvestite, didn't you know?" No, I didn't know. I also did not have a clue what a transvestite was. Should I ask her, or would that make me sound even more unworldly? The phone rang and saved me from having to make that immediate choice. "Okay, I gotta go, but I'll make note of that. Lance is a TV." That sentence just did not sound right. So now I'm going to read you from my last book. Thank you. This one is actually was doing pretty good for me. Called No Fire Escape in Hell. Like Ivy says, they're not really semi-autobiographical, although I was living with a really crappy husband at the time. Anyways, this is a story. This girl, Maddie, is living in her car at the same time as she's doing her living, which is singing telegrams. She's got a great daughter. Her daughter's going out for a long time with another, we'll say another guy, but who's actually transgendered. Born a woman, but he's a guy. So now she just went to her daughter's and Shannon, the girl, and Jody, the guy, their graduation. And of course I'm on the total wrong page. Here we go. I became alarmed. No, you guys aren't staying here on my account. I'm fine. Go to your party. Shannon went to her trunk and pulled out a couple of chairs. "It's a bring your own chair party," she explained. "Guess they didn't have enough chairs for the 500 kids expected to show up." "Yeah, they won't miss us if we're a bit late," Jody added. "Besides, we don't see enough of you." Shannon opened the camp chairs and apologized to Jody. "Sorry, hon, only two. You'll have to stand." Jody leaned against the new Mazda, because Shannon's got a car, and Shannon gave out a wolf whistle. "Jody, if you could see how sexy you look in your tux, standing there against my car." He moved away toward the open trunk. "Control yourself, woman," he cautioned. "Parental unit in the vicinity." He came back with a bottle of wine, a corkscrew, and 2 reusable Starbucks coffee cups. "Why don't you two ladies enjoy a drink?" he suggested. Shannon reached for the cups. "Why, a splendid idea, my kind sir." "Wait," I party pooped. "Aren't you driving, Shannon?" "Just until I start celebrating," she said, raising her glass. "Jody's staying sober. It'll be his first chance to drive my car when he takes us home tonight." It took Jody a while to get the cork out of the wine bottle, but that was only because he was 18 years old and had little practice. I could have jumped in and opened it in a couple seconds, but I didn't want to spoil the moment. I could also have reminded them that they were both underage still, not legally allowed to drink. But I left my motherhood medal behind as soon as that cork popped out of the bottle. Shannon and I clicked our Starbucks cups together and then did the same to Jody's can of Dr. Pepper. Even though our chairs sat on asphalt, the general feeling was one of camping, enjoying a drink and camaraderie in the early evening hours. The wine, with a $10.95 price tag, seemed to be of the highest quality. Jody looked over my ride. "What year is your car?" he asked. 2004 Suzuki Swift, I said, then giggled. Mississauga, Ontario. Okay, the large cup of wine was getting to me. "Still looks pretty good." "Well, that's because I got her washed and oiled and vacuumed," I said. Only thing I'm worried about ever since I got the oil change, for some reason, it seems like she wants to stall. Maybe they hit the idle, he suggested. I stared at him dumbly. Do you want me to take a look? You know about cars? I asked incredulously. Shannon piped up. He got top marks in auto shop, she said proudly. I could sense she was doubly proud of his achievement, since he wasn't yet an actual card-carrying member of the male race. Again he walked back to the trunk of the Mazda as he took off his tuxedo jacket and rolled up his sleeves. I got Shannon a toolkit for her car for graduation, he said. He looked over at his girlfriend. Who knew it would come in so handy, hey babe? I got Jody a year-long membership at Premier Fitness, she said. Oh, and thank you for the keychain. You're welcome, I replied, then waited for more. Nothing. Did you see the paper that was also in the box? Oh, I didn't really look at it, she admitted. It's the receipt in case I want to return it, right? But I'm keeping it. Bless her heart, my only offspring. She thinks I got her a simple keychain for her graduation gift, and she's happy as a lark. I explained the essence of the paper, whatever. Shannon was ever so grateful, though she giggled and said, I don't want to sound mean, but if you want to talk about pitiful gifts, we burst into loud laughter as we both stated, Wild Water Kingdom, which is what her grandmother got her. Shannon ran to her car and returned with the season's pass. She handed it over to me. You know I'm not going to use it, but maybe, seeing as how it's so hot, maybe you want it. The thought of lying in a wading pool like a beached whale held far more appeal than sitting in a sweltering car. Let's go here. He held the new wine bottle. Jody held out a new wine bottle to Shannon. Oh, I have to pee first, Shannon said. Actually, I do too, Jody admitted. Let's all pee in the great outdoors, I shouted, like it was a wild and crazy idea when in reality it had become so humdrum. Jody walked into the branches of the willow tree, and even though I was starting to get pie-eyed, I swear he did it standing up. God bless technology. Shannon and I took opposite corners of my car. We didn't want to mess up the new Mazda's tires. And they find out that the two kids are not going to the same school, and the reason is, Jody said, my doctors and my therapists are in Toronto. If I go to school in Waterloo, I can't make any of my weekday appointments. If I stay here, I can probably have my surgery by the time I'm 21. Oh boy, I drunkenly said, I can't wait. Yeah, I know the feeling, Jody said. That's it for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kim. Let's give it up for Kim Cayer. She's going to have some prose in the next issue of the Artis. And we've got just 3 people left. Lindsay, Albert, then we will do Frank, who will give us an excerpt from his op-ed. And of course, we will wrap up with Kane, who will be talking about the rights of women from 1798. Very, very good. So, Lindsay Albert is a poet. She's writing her memoir. She's absolutely gorgeous. She's been published in a number of recent anthologies. She'll be reading from 2, and she's got poetry. She might possibly be a featurette poet in the upcoming issue with photography, poems, and excerpts from her memoir. She works in, I never get this word right.
End of life. Just end of life.
No, tell me the Latin, please. Palliative care. Yes, palliative care. And so when people are dying, they that's really when their regrets and happinesses from life come out. So it's so very brave, and it's also, she sees a side of people and a side of life that many of us don't see, and that's often reflected in her poetry. It's beautiful. Let's give it up for Lindsay.
I'm gonna change it a little bit, just because. So yeah, most of my work, my writing comes initially was the theme of grief, and also ways of facing the challenges that life presents us. One of the things that I learned, my biggest lesson was from a cat that I had. I called her my hook cat. And this is something that I put together, and it's actually, it's the word hope. You'll catch it as I read the first letter in each line. Hope. Heed opposites, pairs emulsify. Honoring obstacles promotes experience. Hardships in life are a present, opportunities from which to grow. Prompts exploration from within, evolves a self not known before. Harrowing events are seeds, offered so we may unearth potential lying dormant within us, exposing new wonders of self. And this one, the theme was something about Canada, and the first thing that came to my mind was our seasons. And the more I thought about it, and as I wrote it, I came to realize that it also reflects our life. And that as it flows, one season to the next. Summer. Daylight lingers into late evening. Gardens abound with an array of colors. Beaches warmed by sun's radiant heat. School's out, children at play. Autumn. Daylight dwindles. Colorful flowers fade. Trees transform into vivid hues. Animals scurry, winter stores to prepare. Breezes blow, bringing cooler air. Winter. Tree skeletons stand stark in the cold. Coniferous trees hold on to their green. Snowy blanket insulates the earth. Freezing air nips at the flesh. In spring. Rain showers nourish vast flora. New growth rises through soil. Young emerge from dens and nests. Life revived from what appeared dead.
See what I mean? Lindsay Albert. Amazing, deep, beautiful stuff. Our next reader is Frank Veri, who, I have to tell you that his op-ed in the op-ed section of the Artis, which, you know, it's an interesting section to fill, so I do encourage everybody to submit, encouraged me to actually, as I say in my editor's letter, in the magazine, someone had put the idea to me and I wasn't sure if I wanted to undertake it. And I hummed and hawed about it for a couple weeks, and I read Frank's, I read this essay, if it's been slightly edited, of course, as most things that you read are, which is the common ground, and most people actually don't realize that's why it's kind of cool when you're a VIP Artis, you get to hear the interviews unedited in the audio form. That said, I read the essay that's within this magazine, and I thought, you know what? Maybe I'm afraid of succeeding. And I said, I'm going to try this magazine out. And it's thanks to Frank for that. so give it up for Frank. He's going to read a tiny little excerpt from the op-ed, which is on the fear of failure and the road to success. And here he is.
I won't tell them it's your first time on stage. Oh, I just did. Sorry. He's also the cameraman.
Well, thank you so much for that intro. I kind of had an idea that I know I sparked something in you that time you read it. You go, oh my God, I can't believe it. Who knew, right? But it's an opinion. I don't particularly believe in the word failure. Well, not particularly. There is no failure. Well, maybe there is. You fail when you give up. Then you failed. I think that's maybe where the word belongs. But if you try something with earnest and genuine willingness and it doesn't work, well, you didn't fail. It just didn't work.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing. But, you know, I remembered as a kid riding a bike, that was my whole premise for this. Like, I mean, I'm gonna sound like, you know, bring out the violins. I was, you know, yeah, I've been called a failure more times than I care to remember from close people to me. You know, because they didn't believe in my dream, but I did. And so when it didn't work out, you know, it was kind of used against me in that way. But the truth is, I think the term failure doesn't come into our vocabulary until we're older. And then it somehow permeates in our lives in a way that it actually causes invisible walls in front of us to continue on, you know, because we're afraid of being labeled a failure, right? But there is no real failure. When you're a kid riding a bike, did you ever think that you failed? Like, so you get on the bike, never been on one before, you know, it takes a little balance, right? And we never had training wheels, not when I was growing up. You know, you live or you die by the two wheels. So, you know, I mean, yeah, did I fall? Sure, I did so many times. And I thought, man, I'm never going to do this, I'm never going to do this. But see, the word failure never came in, ever. I just kept trying, you know? I was persistent in trying. And eventually, now I can ride a bike, just like probably most of you here can, right? And that's how pretty much you did it, okay? So that's why I kind of wrote this little piece, and I'm glad it had an impact the way it did, Ivy. I think you have a huge amount of potential that you're probably holding back on that I think I saw maybe, and you know, thought this might help you out. If we want to succeed, all we have to do is remember a time when persistence and practice finally achieved success. Failure is not a permanent event. It is only a setback to achieving success and should never be considered a showstopper. It is the natural progression to success. Who decided that failure needed to be thought of as a negative thing anyway? I believe there is nothing negative about failure. Failure teaches us the lessons that we may not have been able to learn any other way. When viewed properly, failure guides us in honing our approach to success. The challenges we experience on the path to success most often manifests itself in the form of our own subconscious sabotaging. Sounds ridiculous, right? But there is more truth in this than you may imagine. Believe it or not. Thank you.